is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 219. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Michaud, and we call him E. Sitting here on a Sunday, Austin, Texas, coming off a Copa Tejas defeat at the hands of the dreaded Houston Dynamo. I know it's not good, but how you feeling?
I am unwell for sure. Dropping that rivalry game to those bums, and then my Lakers lose. They're down 3-1. Not going to let that bleed too much into here, but before we got jumped on, I think I texted you and I was like, "Yeah, let's do it after the Lakers game, so I can be double furious and go ahead and get some pent up anger out." Yeah, not great, man. That was a real bummer, a real stinker, a really poor performance on our part, and it hurts extra when you lose to those guys. That's for sure.
Yeah, no question. I mean, we were kind of sitting here talking before we hit record, and it's a bad result no matter who you're playing. But I think we can all agree that we feel worse today about it because of who we lost to, right?
Absolutely.
So trying to keep that perspective as we go through this one here today. Got a couple pieces of news to touch up on at the top and then at the end of the episode. But the majority of this is just going to be reliving that pain from last night. So before we jump into the pain, just want to remind you all listening or watching on the YouTube channel that the best way to support the show, and you can support us financially, by downloading the audio versions of our episodes wherever you get your podcast. You can toggle on auto downloads and support the show going forward without having to think about it again. You can go the extra mile, rate and review the show wherever you get your podcast. And if you are watching on the YouTube channel, hitting that subscribe button does help us grow the show. And you can hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up, like it did on Wednesday night, or a new episode goes live. And of course, here on episode 219, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, atone for your sins, wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. So let's just real quick, a little bit of a wrap up here on the Robert Taylor trade. If this is the first you're hearing of it, are you even really a sicko? So trade comes in at the deadline on Wednesday, the close of the primary transfer window. Rodolfo Borrell and Austin FC acquiring winger Robert Taylor from Inter Miami for $750K GAM. There was a live stream, as I mentioned, so if you missed that, you can go get about a half hour of talk on Robert Taylor. But then this tweet popped up yesterday from Colby Gordon over at The Statesman, and he said, note on the Robert Taylor trade, sources told The Statesman that the acquisition cost to the club will be less than the $750K GAM reported. Miami had bought down a portion of his 2025 salary, so Austin FC will save $286K, most of which will come in a lesser salary cap hit. Now, we did get the news, I believe it was from Tom Bogert, on Wednesday night, talking about Miami already buying his salary cap hit down as much as they could to that $150K number. So I'm a little bit confused on Colby's wording here because I don't think this really saves us money.
Yeah.
Because, again, the GAM goes to Miami. And so we're not going to have to pay the additional GAM that Miami already put on his budget charge, as I understand it, right? He's going to cost Austin $150K this year. So I guess maybe what the club is pushing to Colby here is like, hey, if they hadn't already bought down this guy's cap hit, then we would have had to do that ourselves. So when we're sending them GAM back, it's essentially replenishing, what they had spent already on Robert Taylor's budget charge this season. So again, I think the wording is a little bit confusing because if I'm confused about this, the guy who lives in the MLS rulebook, I imagine most people, could see this and maybe think something different. So And
Yeah, it
go
just
ahead.
seems poorly worded. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm not reading too much into this other than I think he just didn't write this the way that it makes sense. Does it save us 286 in regard to how it's going to hit our books? Yes, but it's not like we just didn't pay 750K GAM for it,
Right.
right? Like
Right. Right.
it's still that charge. So I just think it's poorly worded. And I think you were explaining to me before we jumped on here that when we do have salary cap Christmas here with MLS, we'll see the charge that he comes in on.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where that figure, that 286 is coming from. But yeah, it just seems poorly worded.
Yeah, so that's right. The GAM that we sent of that 750, that is 2025 GAM. That's 450K of that. So again, like if we're just replenishing their what they spent on him to buy his charge down, again, I think that's fair. But that does take, essentially we're only kind of paying like 500K GAM because again, 250K of that GAM is 2026, and then it's conditional 50K in the 2027 season where Taylor has a player option. So I imagine that 50K GAM is conditional just on him being on the roster at that point. Now, learning even more about Robert Taylor than we already knew on Wednesday when the trade happened. I am even more excited for this acquisition. Yeah. And I think after last night's festivities, he's even more important, especially over this next month, because we got guys in Verde and black kits dropping like flies.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth there. I don't give a shit that it was 750K. I don't give a shit if we save 286K. We need Robbie Taylor in here. He's going to have to start playing immediately. And yes, I was perusing the subreddits going into stuff after the deal was done, until looking at some comments from Miami fans, and a beloved player for them. One of the guys, obviously who was there when Miami was complete dog shit, and like earned his chops with that team and everything. Obviously being excited, amped up about Barcelona showing up on your doorstep and everything like that. But, I was watching Miami play just before we jumped on here, and just like all the guys they go up 3-1 on Dallas, just like they find dudes everywhere. You know what I mean? So I understand why he probably fell out of the rotation. They lose that game 4-3. Very interesting. But we need Robbie Taylor here. I'm very excited for him. Again, I don't care with 750K GAM or how much we saved. He's going to have to start playing for us, because this is about to be the gauntlet run that we have been fearing for some time here. And this was the wrong way to get the month of May started, particularly with that result, but more so with the injuries and the knocks and the dings that happened here. And then obviously we know that wear and tear starts to build up on you when you have that many games. What is it, 9 games that month in May potentially?
Yeah.
So that's going to be a brutal stretch here. And like, we keep trying to find some consistency in this team on the offensive side of the ball, a bit of identity and everything like that. And we have a stinker like we had last night, and you're going to figure out who you are come May, one way or the other. We're going to learn what this team looks like. I'm looking at the table right now, and 7 goals, man. You know what I mean? There's only two teams in the Western Conference who have less goals than us: the winless LA Galaxy and dog shit St. Louis, who have 2 wins. Those are the only 2 teams in the entire Western Conference that have less goals than us. So we have to find a way to start scoring goals here. And we're again discussing before we jumped on everything. You brought up the Nico presser, and that wasn't a good look. So we'll get into that. But yeah, let's relive this horror.
All right, well, I'm going to trouble you with one more piece of news, before we get into last night's match. But look, some good news, I think. At least this is how I consider it, man. Congrats to CJ Fodrey. Contract extension with the club, which keeps him here in Austin through the end of the 2027 season. Then we got 2 option years there for 28 and 29. In the press release, CJ said, from being picked in the draft from San Diego State and winning the MLS Next Pro title to making my MLS debut and getting my first MLS assist, I have made a lot of great memories and grown a lot during my time in Austin. I'm grateful to the club and fans for everything they have done for me, and I'm very motivated to keep working every day to make many more great memories. And Rodo said, CJ is a young player who works hard on a daily basis, and most importantly, is committed to keep improving. He has shown improvement with each season he has been in Austin, and we are happy to keep supporting his development. The press release also notes, that he will remain on his Generation Adidas tag and a supplemental roster slot. And I believe that will only go through the guaranteed term of his contract, because if I recall correctly, his GA deal was a 3+2, I think. So it was expiring this year. We had 2 more options that would have kept him on the GA contract. So I think the 28 and 29 options would take him off the GA tag and potentially take him onto the senior roster. But we'll see when that new contract kicks in, which we may not be able to see for 3 years. But congrats to CJ. And again, keeping a spot with on the supplemental roster with a developing player who has been here since the start of his MLS career. I think it's good business all around.
I think it's very good business. I want to shout out CJ for sure. Congratulations to that. I like what Roto had to say there, and I think that has been my take when it's come to CJ and his progression and everything. Clearly wants to get better, has gotten better. So keep that trajectory moving forward. And, we'll see what it looks like as he continues to progress with his development. But I'm very happy for him, and I think he's a good guy to have on this roster.
Unsurprisingly, we got the Antonio Gomez short-term agreement coming into this one with Brendan Heinzike suspended. So that was Gomez's second short-term call-up here of the season. So he's got 2 more of those. And to be honest, hopefully we don't have to use those other 2 anytime soon, although I think it's maybe likely this coming month. Because if he's called up, that means one of the 3 true center backs on the first team roster is dealing with something. And again, I think we'll get into it in this match, but I think we felt the lack of depth at the position a little bit last night.
Yeah. Going back to the BHI thing, fuck that ref for throwing him out of that game, getting him suspended, because this was absolutely massive. His loss, or the lack of having him there playing last night was massive. I think it impacted the decision to play Ilya. Then you have the Pep injury, and then that midfield did not look great once that took place. And then shit, man, if you're watching that game last night, we've known about Svatak and his, the fact that he does not take kindly to the heat and the humidity and things like that. And as we get into this month of May, temperatures will be rising here. And I think that's going to be a situation that we have to monitor, because he was sucking wind by probably the 70th minute in that game, clearly uncomfortable. So you might see another Antonio Gomez call up coming up here in this month.
Well, and if we weren't shorthanded enough on the back line, how about you take out your $10 million striker? Injury report comes out on Friday. BV listed questionable with an illness, and then it turns out he didn't even travel, not on the bench there, not with the team. And to be honest, like that is clearly a loss coming in. I still felt pretty confident, thinking that, all right, well, if he's out, Mirtu goes to the 9. Hader slots in on one of the wings, fingers crossed for the left. And that is what came to pass. But I may have not underestimated, but just not fully thought through how important BV has been to this team throughout the first quarter of the season.
Yeah, man. Look, after the match, we're talking and everything, and I think both of us said this team can't look like that when we lose, if we don't have BHI and BV. But the impact, I think the correct word is probably understated. You know what I mean? Where it's just like the little things that BV can do, the little things that BHI can do. It was on display last night, and I'll tip my hat to Houston. I think they played probably their best game of the season. They put in a complete 90 minutes versus us, and they looked like the better team last night, and they deserve to win the game.
Of course, it was Stuver in net. No surprises on the back line with Heinzike out. Galley, Svatak, Julio, and Guilherme Biru. That midfield, like you mentioned, Ilya back in there with the armband next to Danny and Owen. And then up top, as we expected, you get Buka on the right, Hader on the left, and Mirtu up top. Those of us watching, from home or from the watch party or wherever, no audio to start this one. So we actually, one of my favorite parts of the game was accidentally having Glenn Davis on the Houston radio call where we were watching it. And in the 17th minute, hearing him call out that there were not a ton of fans at this match. Said something to the effect of, like, you would think there'd be more people here for a derby match. So we can agree on that, Glenn. But in the 9th minute here, Houston is sitting extremely deep to start, and that continued throughout this match, especially after they got that first goal. But here in the 9th, it's good ball from Ilie to break a line, and he finds Danny, who pushes it on to John Gallagher on that right side of the Houston area. He puts in what I thought was a great ball across the face of net that Mirtu Izuni can't quite get to. Look, man, it's again, I still fully back Mirtu, but it's now been 10 matches straight, pretty much. I mean, I guess he didn't really come in till the end of the second match, right? But still, it's been a lot of almost, or like he'll get that one next time. And this was just another example.
Yeah, man. And I keep saying, I think we're going to regress to the mean given his talent and everything. But the way the ball has been bouncing for him has not gone his way. And he's frustrated. When he doesn't score, we know he gets frustrated. And I don't want to call it bad luck because at this point, it's a big enough sample size where it's like we are struggling to put balls behind keepers. And just another situation where it was like coulda, woulda, shoulda. And that don't get you nothing.
Yeah. 15th minute, Austin pressing on a Houston throw deep in their own end. Danny bumps it down to Bukhari, who plays it right back to Danny out wide on that right side, and he fizzes a ball across the face. Both Mirtu and Obi can't get a touch to this one. And again, I think these balls are right where they need to be.
Yeah.
Just can't connect.
Yeah. No. And God, what a bummer for Pep getting hurt last night because I thought he came out and looked really, really aggressive and like has really come into his own and everything like that after a rough and kind of tumultuous start. But another great ball. The Gallagher ball was fantastic as well. We got to find ways to score goals. There's only I can say it so many times, but these guys have to find ways to finish when we have good chances. Not that this was a great one, but it's been frustrating.
Well, to your point about Danny, coming out there and working hard, I thought overall the team, I didn't think it was an effort issue. I just didn't think they played particularly well. Like I saw guys, Danny especially, but I saw a couple guys running around out there like their hair's on fire, like playing like this is a rivalry match. And I don't know, maybe some of that some of that reaction from the fans is just emotional, again, elevated because of the opponent. But I also think potentially like from that camera angle at Shell Energy, like it's a little bit higher, I think, certainly than the one at Q2. And I think it can make guys maybe look like they're moving a little bit slower than they actually are. I just saw a couple of takes like that, scrolling last night, looking at the damage. And I just didn't agree with anybody saying that these guys weren't trying because I thought they absolutely were.
I thought it was an execution thing for sure. Yeah. And again, Houston played better than us. You have this grievous error that shows up here later with Owen. And that kind of unravels things. But it was an execution thing. We did not play one of our better games this season. That's for sure.
24th minute, you get a yellow card to Guilherme for crashing in to Bond. Definitely a foul. I don't think I'm complaining about the yellow either, especially because 3 minutes later, yellow card to Ponce for simulation, trying to draw a pen on Julio. I thought it was kind of eye for an eye right there. Chris Penso has certainly officiated worse than he did last night. 29th minute here. Artur takes Obrian down on the far sideline from the broadcast camera, probably 35-ish yards out. Austin sets up for a set piece here. Owen's over it, but he plays it short laterally to Danny, who takes a touch and just winds up for a strike that, I was fine with. Just wide right, it looked like. Maybe a little bit more off the target than you could tell on that broadcast angle. But as soon as he takes that shot, he pulls up lame, goes down, and word is quad injury, at least a month. So now you don't have number 8 for at least the next 9 matches is how I'm reading that. And that is brutal.
That is absolutely brutal. Couldn't have come at a worse time here. I liked the shot attempt. I thought it was a great rip, but just an unfortunate situation for him to come up limp there, a little bit lame with his quad. But we knew this game was going to be physical. I do think that we had more fouls than them, but they were physical with us. And Artur's a physical player and everything. You get this foul call drawn, but with the effort thing that we've been talking about here, we matched intensity It was fine. The intensity match was fine. It wasn't something that was just like they were all over the place, beating us, all sorts of loose balls and everything on top of everything like that. But just like little plays here and there that just ended up being really big. Griffin Dorsey, we let him run rampant on us. I think I was on record saying I said I'm not worried about fucking Griffin Dorsey, but looked like you had something you wanted to get in there.
I think in the first half, I think Austin was the better team. They were certainly the team who had better chances in the first half. Both of our big chances on Fatma's model come in the first half. Anyways, Danny goes off. I feel terrible for Danny too because of not just the importance to the team, but him individually and how well he was playing. Kind of, over the last 5 or 6 matches, recovering from what we thought was a slow start to the season.
Yes, I'm hurting for him right now. For him because he was really hitting his stride.
36th minute. Houston gets a set piece opportunity here after Owen takes down your boy, Amin Bassi. Initial ball gets cleared out and then sent back in where Stuver can scoop it up. And he tries to play it quickly with a kick, and Dorsey jumps in, and it sure as hell looks like he deflects this ball because it goes way out of bounds. Nico's asking for the deflection. I think I saw Mirtu up at the top of the line throwing his hands up. How is this Houston's ball? Just a minor gripe that I had. Again, I thought Penso and his crew were fine, but they missed that one.
That was pretty obvious. I don't it's physics.
Brad
man.
doesn't kick the ball out of bounds.
No, he
hardly
doesn't
ever.
Blast it like that. Yeah, missed call.
39th minute, Dynamo win a free kick just outside the area, like top right corner, looking towards net, and Jack McGlynn has a crack, and Stuver parries it away. But man, Jack McGlynn is good.
Yep, I talked about it in my article that I wrote before the preview match here. Like, he can shoot it from outside the box, and he puts some pep on those things. And he had a couple rips last night that were like, "Oh, that's a good left foot."
Yeah. I think that I think his one goal so far for the Dynamo did come from a shot outside of the box.
Yeah,
and we saw him. This was not the only time that he threatened Brad.
No, not at all. He's had a couple ones that were like, "Oh, that thing's humming."
So here in the 41st minute, I mean, this is where this should have been the breakthrough. Again, like, we've got big time horseshoe vibes because of the way Houston is sitting back. I also thought the way that they were marking Ilie, anytime Ilie was trying to drop back in and receive a pass from Svatak or Cascante, he's pretty much bracketed by like 2 defenders in front of him, 2 defenders behind him. Yeah. He's in the middle of like 3 or 4 orange shirts. And it was really tough to not only get him touches in that area where we're typically trying to build out of the back, but there was such pressure whenever he did receive a pass right there. He was very rarely able to turn and look upfield. And the times there he did, I felt like the way Houston was defending him deterred him from taking a peek at some points where he probably had the space to do so. It's just very stagnant, like, overall. And then especially after Danny went out, things just changed in our midfield.
It changed big time, and I'll tell you who had a really good night last night. Josh Wolf. He sure had a good time last night.
I'm sure he did.
And like, look, we had talked about the fact that he was going to be on the defensive scheme for them. That was the word around town, was like he was brought in for the defense and everything like that. And I'm buying what you're selling there. I think that that was why they wanted him down there in Houston. Particularly look at the way Austin played and defended last year, and his last term was probably the best thing about that team last year. But they had a solid game plan in regard to how they wanted to take us out of our offense and to try to progress the ball. And once we lose Danny here, like I said, it was a domino effect where it was like, okay, BHI is out, means Ilya is probably going to have to get the start because he's going to get the banned. And then you have this Danny injury, and now you're going Ilya Sabo, both of which are very good. I love both of them. They're fantastic players. Not line breaking kind of speed on the with the ball on your foot and stuff like that. And we saw some poor changes of field last night where we're trying to change the field and the balls were just not quality enough, which led to some breaks. And I think their second goal is off of a failed field switch. And it hurt, man. And not having Ilya being able to be kind of that calming presence, we can get him the ball and then start moving it forward, definitely impacted us.
Yeah, we haven't seen a ton of those two guys, Sabo and Ilya, together. Yeah. And again, I think the small sample we have is not that encouraging. In this moment of stagnation, though, Svatak plays, I think, pretty clearly the best pass we've seen from him in an
Yeah.
Austin uniform over the entire Houston defense. Drops it in perfectly to Mirtu Azuni. I don't know, 14 yards out. And contrary to what we've seen from Mirtu over the last 2 or 3 games, he brings this down softly, deftly, and gets a shot on goal that Bond is able to deflect. It stays in play, kind of like trickling towards the spot. And I want to give credit to Osman here for his hustle to get a touch to this ball and keep it in the danger area, because then that bounces to the path of Obrian. But as he settles himself for a shot, he fucking slips. And the ball goes back to Buka, and his back is to goal. He gets double teamed, and nothing comes of it. I give a lot of credit to Mirtu. The trap of that ball, I think over his shoulder, like, is way more difficult than putting this fucking goal away. But dude, we gotta have, he has to do better. Overall, he has to do better. He has 1 goal. It's off a deflected shot against St. Louis, right? Like that could have deflected 1 foot more to the left. And he didn't have any goals. He's, again, if we're going to only have a handful of chances each match, if he gets 1 or 2, he's just got to convert at a higher rate. That it is what it is right now until you can generate more.
Yes, absolutely. And like, this is what in a row where it's like Mirtu has a chance to put us up in a lead in an early, I know this isn't like the early part of this game, but a score here in the 41st,
they have to come play then.
Yeah, you go into halftime feeling really good about yourself. And what we saw once we had those substitutions for Sabo and Ilie, then you can be a little bit more defensive on your side too and kind of muck this game up. But yes, we keep saying it. He's got to be better. He's got to be better. He's got to be better. That really is the case. He has to be better with these attempts here. And I still have not lost my faith in his ability to be able to do that, once this stuff marks rolling and everything, rolling forward and everything. But it's just, it puts us in a deflated kind of situation. We know how frustrating it's been not scoring. They know how frustrating it's been not scoring. And to not get these to not finish these opportunities when they present themselves has been a real thorn in this team's side all season long. Like I said, sitting on 7 goals here. There's only 2 teams in the Western Conference, not who have less than us. So
I think it's 4 in the entire league. I think the Revs and Montreal, I think, are the other 2.
Yeah, and you look where all those teams are on the table, and then you see that Austin sitting in second right now, which is great and fortuitous. And we have had some really quality wins, but they've all been 1-0 besides your San Diego.
Yeah, and we were up 2 goals for 7 or 8 minutes in that one, which is the only time, like, through 10 matches now, we've been up by 2 for 8 minutes. It's wild that we're still, as we're sitting here, I guess I don't have the live score for LA and St. Louis up, but at least when we pressed record, we were still sitting in second. We had a lot of luck with the results so far this weekend. The lowest I believe we can drop is 4th. Anyways, we'll look at the table when we get through this. I'm glad that this next play did not come to fruition for Houston, because you and I both might have spontaneously combusted. The next possession after this Mirtu miss, Houston works it out in possession, left to right in the Austin half. They get it to our boy Griffin Dorsey, who plays a lofted cross as he gets near the end line on that right side, into the box, right at the edge of the 6. Amin Bassi gets on his bike, connects, it floats towards the back post, hits the post, bounces off of Stuver's knee, and barely out of play for a corner. That could have easily bounced in off Brad, and Brad didn't know much about that in the moment.
Yeah, no, and it easily could have gone in on its own. It was very, very close. And no, that would have been absolutely the shit icing on this shit cake for sure.
No changes at the half for either team, so we pick it up in the 51st minute. Brooklyn Reigns, one of those young, I believe, homegrown Dynamo products, if I'm not mistaken. Great turns in the Austin half here to open up some space, and then Reigns plays McGlynn into some space of his own, where he cuts back towards the middle on Ilie and fires another left-footed shot that goes just wide of the right post, past a diving Stuver. Again, wasn't on target, but very, Brad was called into action plenty of times on the night for a game that didn't have a ton of big chances.
Yep, he was called upon and did his job, and then we did him dirty a couple times here.
52nd minute, Biru gets taken down near midfield, and Austin plays the free kick quickly. Owen weaves through like 6 Houston defenders here to get right to the top of the box. Finds Bukhari with space from about 15 yards out, and he sends it into the side netting. It did look like there was shouts from him and Gallagher, who had a good angle being on that right side, that was deflected. But no corner is given here. And again, like, the bit of individual skill from Owen in that moment. Like, I would advise people that is probably on the short highlight that the league puts out. Because again, there weren't a ton in the game as a whole. For him to dive in from all the way out there, kind of in the left channel, to make it into right at the top of the 18, the most dangerous spot on the pitch, like, it's just a great play. And Buka's got to do better there in the space that he had.
He seems to really favor that near post when he finds himself in these situations.
In there. Yeah.
He really does. And like, okay, you're better than me at soccer, brother. But
and if it was deflected out, fine, right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe it was on target.
But I mean, again, these are the guys that we want to have the ball in those situations, and we are not seeing the fruits of our labor from that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But a fantastic play by Owen. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Beautiful, beautiful play.
61st minute. It's a great ball over the top here from Sviatchenko into Griffin Dorsey in behind. He's got Owen Wolf in pursuit. Owen bodies him off the ball, shouts for a pin raining down across the stadium. I didn't think there was much in that. But then Owen gets back on the ball. Also, one thing that you notice on the replay is Svatak and Julio completely stop.
Yep.
Like they're expecting a penalty to be called. So I don't know if that says something about it or not. But then this is on Owen to me. You can totally see what he's doing. Sabo has some space. He's trying to play him out into space and start a counter here. But it's just one of the worst balls we've seen from Owen this year. It's so low that Linger chests it to himself up into the air. And then as it comes down, hits the volley through the legs of Svatak. So a little bit unfortunate there. And then it rolls past Stuver, who's a little off balance. But again, it comes down to if Owen just clears that out. Like, I would take just a clearance. We don't even need to counter. Like, get this out of here right now. I think, you just got to credit him. And I did not think we were going to have to use this, but.
Fucking lingerer, man.
Yeah, totally.
Linger.
Hardcore.
I hate this guy, dude. Lingerer.
I'm in a better mood now. I love that clip. This is not the right time to get a little cute here, not that I thought this was overly cute. But it was a little cute. There was some cuteness level to this, and like, it just wasn't the right time. It's a fantastic play by Linger after he comes down with this and is able to one-time that shot, put it past Brad. But it's not even like Owen's being pressured here. You know what I mean? There's not like they did not have a high press all night. Like, that was not what they were playing. That's not how they play. And for him to have such a poor ball, and like, you have options elsewhere. It didn't even need to be a full-on clearance. I think obviously in retrospect, that's what everyone would have wanted, but a really, really poor ball, and they make you pay for it. And now you're in trouble. Like this was a trouble zone.
Especially now that Houston has been pretty darn good, I think, in their defensive shape over the first hour of this match, and now they can just completely focus on that and defending the lead. So a couple minutes later, 67th, you get a double change for the Dynamo. Bartlow and Kowalczyk come in for Sviatchenko and Linger. And then on the restart, Galley plays a great ball down the line here to Bukhari, and Osman gets to the end line, lasers a ball to the top of the 6, where Azuni has a tap in. And I think you just have to credit Ethan Bartlow, his first moments of the match, making a great defensive play to get it out for a corner. Because you see on the side angle replay, Bond is not getting to that ball. That is a tap in. That's a great cross by Buka. Uzuni was right where he needed to be. And of course, at that moment, Bartlow makes one of the plays of the game.
Look, they were the better team last night. They deserved 3 points, and they got 3 points. And this was a huge play. Because you even that up, you're feeling really good about yourself here. But this was an absolutely massive defensive effort here by Bartlow. And sometimes it be like that.
Yeah, and Houston clears out the corner. Austin stays in possession, but John turns it over with a mishit pass that floats harmlessly out of bounds. And after that, you get a double change for Austin, Dubrsarski and Rubio in for Owen. and Hader Obrian. And it looked like Owen may have either been cramping or picked up a little bit of a knock. I don't believe there was any reporting on that after the match. So hopefully it was just, a little bit of a cramp and they pulled him out. But dude, this is where I started to lose some hope because a Savage, Ilya, Dubrsarski midfield is not exactly built, I think, for breaking down a low block or breaking lines and the like, right? We think that Sabo has a lot of that line breaking passes, a lot of those line breaking passes in him, but just that trio doesn't inspire a ton of confidence when you're trying to make a comeback in a rivalry match on the road.
Yeah, no, that trio does not inspire a lot of confidence on the offensive side of the ball for sure. It's a stout defensive midfield for sure. If you're up, a couple of goals here and you can get that trio in to go ahead and try to lock this thing down, then fantastic. But it is definitely not an aggressive forward-facing kind of box-to-box midfield that you would need in a situation like this where you're down a goal and you're playing a team that has been compact and stringent in their formation throughout the entirety of the night.
Yellow cards start to fly here. 72nd, You get one to Duber for taking out Reigns in the middle of the park. He's just late on the challenge. No complaints there. Then a Svatok, yellow card 4 minutes later for stopping a counter, little tactical foul. And this is where you can see up close on the broadcast that Svatok, if we had another option that wasn't Antonio Gomez, he would be coming out of the match.
Sucking wind.
And you do get a double change the next minute. Kolmanich and CJ come in for Biru and Ilya. So I will credit the coaching staff for those changes because those are changes to go get an equalizer. 79th minute, of course, Austin is now pushed up trying to break down that Houston defense, looking for an equalizer. They turn it over on that changing ball that you talked about earlier. Immediately susceptible on the counter with how high the line is. Dorsey finds himself ultimately on this counter at the top of the box with a teammate on either side of him. Neither center back commits here, and my amateur reading of this is Julio's got to step to the ball there so Svatok can pay a little bit more attention to Ezequiel Ponce, but they don't do that, and Ponce is left alone on the left, and by the time Dorsey sets him up, and again, credit to Dorsey for a nice pass, perfect weight right into where Ponce could take a shot. I'm not blaming Brad on this one at all. Like Ponce from that angle at that distance, he nets it. And that's all she wrote, man. 2-0 with 10 minutes to go here with the personnel we have out there. Game's over.
Yeah. No, it's just ceremony at that point, honestly. Griffin Dorsey was great last night, man. He really gave us hell. And like I said, there was a couple opportunities to change the field, switch sides of this ball and everything. And those balls just came up a little bit lackluster last night. And you get this breakaway here. Our midfield is not in position and they're tired at this point. Guys aren't getting back. We talked about Svatok being someone who was visibly gassed. Sabovic was as well. Welcome to Texas, brother. It ain't gonna get better. I tell you that much. Again, better team was Houston last night, and they execute here. You get the ball to the guys you paid to score goals, and they scored goals.
We close out with another flurry of yellows, and I think that this is not necessarily on Penso and his crew, but really I'm complaining about PRO in general here because of the way our match was officiated last weekend. 82nd minute, yellow card to Franco Escobar for dissent. This motherfucker carries on for the better part of 30 to 45 seconds. Again, Brendan Heinzike, we don't know what he said. I just don't know how Brendan gets thrown out last week for what he did. Again, absent something horrible, but he wasn't fined for what he said. He was fined for not leaving the pitch in time. And the fact that Escobar gets to keep going at the head official here and is not sent off as BHI is sitting back home in Austin. I imagine I'm not the only one who felt that way of watching that. And I'm sure Brendan, if he saw it, was probably like doing the Leo point, Anyways, 84th minute, yellow card to Cascante, tactical foul to stop a counter. And then you get yellows to Rubio and Dorsey. After McGlynn and Sabovic got tangled up, of course, Rubio picking up the yellow card there. Potentially lucky to also not get sent off for a little bit of contact to Dorsey's face there. I thought it was inadvertent, but I'm biased. And then in stoppage time, Ladero in for Ponce, and then Steris and Urso come in for McGlynn and Bassi in the 5th minute of the 7 given. 2-0 final as the final whistle blows. And we feel bad.
Yeah, no, I feel really, really awful, man. You know, the terrible error by Owen really is the one that is the play that kind of sticks out from this matchup. And I think it's going to overshadow some of the stuff that we saw on the offensive side of the ball that we've seen throughout the course of this season, where it's like, those are the guys that we want to have the rock. Those are the guys that we expect to score goals, and those goals are not coming right now. We got to dust yourself off here. You know, this was a rivalry matchup. We talked about their form coming in, probably on their best little 3-game streak of this season thus far. You add the linger aspect in there, where he's a quality player and everything like that. So, and they needed it. They needed this matchup, you know. And again, I don't think that I'm with you. I don't think it was an effort thing. I don't think that we didn't rise to the occasion of this moment of what this game was going to be. It is just that we were unable to execute. They had a better defensive scheme than we did. And the ghost of ghosts that keeps haunting this club, inability to score goals and finish chances, rears its ugly head once more. And, you know, we're still sitting in second. So obviously the sky is not falling. But with you take into account this loss, the injuries that took place, and what's laying in front of you with Minnesota coming to town next Saturday, it's looking a little not daunting, but it's starting to give me a little pause.
Daunting is fair, I think, dude.
I was trying to find a better way to say it from how I initially said it, where it was just like, you're going to find out who you are in this month of May, and I think that's the best way that I can say it here. So you're going to have to dust yourself off quick, because this thing is coming, and it's coming quick.
49% possession for Austin at the end of this one. 11 shots to 8 in favor of the Dynamos. We get a couple zooms here on the YouTube. 6 on target to 2 in favor of the Dynamo. And then, like I mentioned earlier, 2 big chances for Austin on FOTMob's model. Both of them, of course, missed. Did get what looks like a recalc here on the FOTMob XG. So these are new numbers for me. Houston's XG comes down in the recalc, 0.95. Austin's goes up to 0.77, but the expected goals on target tell, I think, a more clear story. 1.81 for Houston, 0.51 for Austin. And you mentioned, right, Austin, the more physical team, at least in terms of Penso's whistle, 20 fouls to 11 and 5 corners to 1. Man, Houston took their chances, converted, and we did not.
Yep. That well said. They made their shots. We did not.
In terms of the presser, we kind of touched on earlier one quote. Again, you can go watch this on the club's site, the post-game press conference, where Nico said, "I think we had very clear chances today. One day we'll score the goals. This is the only thing I can tell you. I don't have a crystal ball." And I think reading that, I got a different reaction from actually hearing him say that. But not everybody's going to do both, right? And I think you slap a certain different name on that quote, and there would be protests at the stadium this coming Saturday against the coach. So again, I don't only really invoking the old coach in this moment because he's now works for the rival we just lost to. But what I do think is last night, if the honeymoon period wasn't already over for most fans, I think it is now.
Yep. You lose to this Houston team. You take a look at where both these teams were sitting at on the table, and like, brother, we know you don't have a crystal ball. Like, everyone is very aware of that. Like, we all know that you cannot tell the future, but the levels of frustration and the inability to score and saying one day it'll happen are just not encouraging things. And obviously he's very disappointed in this moment, as well as the players were and everything like that. But we got to figure it out. On the offensive side of the ball, you look there at the FOTMob ratings, everyone green for Houston, everyone orange for the non-orange team. And that kind of sums it up. I thought they played better than us, and we got to figure it out. And it definitely hurt not having BV, not just for the aspect of being able to score some goals, have some more chances, but you hit on it too with Ilya, where they took an aspect, an element of our game plan entirely away from us
Yeah.
and limited outlet options to get us out of danger zones. And we know BV has fantastic hold-up play, and we also know that he's fantastic physically and able to get balls in the air that are usually 50-50 balls and stuff like that. And that was on display last night for us, and it hurt. But you know, it's one game. You got to dust yourself off here. It was a rival, but they don't count for 2 losses. So I'm still confident that this team is going to reach its ceiling at some point in time. And I'd much rather be going through these struggles now than potentially suffering them later on in the season. So we got to get some things figured out. It's not perfect by any means, and this is a tough game to drop here, but we'll see what this team is made of here in this month of May. I'm excited for it. You should be excited about it.
Yeah, you're going to have plenty of chances to continue to improve that team chemistry and prove some of the doubters that are no doubt, starting to bubble to the surface here. Because, just again, like you mentioned, despite the table position, there are numbers right next to your points total that say this team can't score. And I really hate that you pointed out that all the Houston players get the Verde numbers here and we have the nasty orange ones. But, that's the truth of what happened last night, I think. And a good point, again, by you, I think, on Vasquez, right? We kind of talked about it earlier that, I just didn't fully think through or understand, absorb how important he's been for us here early in the season, because Mirtu just doesn't seem to really have that in his style of play. He's much more slight. He's a much smaller guy than Vasquez. But also, I'm also not going to fully blame Mirtu here because 10 touches.
Yeah.
10 total touches?
Yeah.
For our $12 million guy?
Yep.
I don't care if he's up there and Houston's playing great defense. That has to be figured out. There should never be a match where he plays 90 minutes and only touches the ball 10 times.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, with their ability to take aspects of our game plan out of what we were trying to do, this was another aspect of it where it was like they limited Ozuni and his ability to get open and into space. And Hot Air doesn't command the same amount of respect that a defense needs to put on a guy like Ozuni or Buka, and not having BV there did allow them. I think I ended the article I wrote with go ahead and pick your poison in regard to which one of these wingers you want to double. And they had the opportunity to pick that
easy
poison
choice.
and it was Hot Air. So we missed BV, man, but still the execution was not there for us. And that happens. You lose games.
Yeah, I think too. You kind of mentioned this a few minutes ago, but like Bukhari needs some help when the double teams come. You cannot, as good as he is at, of course, beating guys one-on-one, and he had some individual moments last night, particularly in the first half hour, where he tried to take somebody on one-on-one and Escobar got him twice, poked it away, tackled it off of him. But when the double teams come frequently, we need to have better outlets for Buka to find. We can't ask him to beat the double team every time and then make a spectacular pass off of that every time. And I think we just have to have, on some of those possessions, I think we're playing Buka through either over the top or on the ground quicker than Johnny can get up there and overlap. But I think there needs to be more of that. And then also, it hurts when Danny goes out, but like Owen's got to check towards him. And Ilie's got to check towards him, or Sabo. Like, he's got to have an outlet there more frequently than we saw last night, and then I think than what we've seen on the season as a whole.
I think they did a good job.
I was just saying, you pull out the microscope when you lose to your rival, right?
Yeah,
even more so than, like, I was saying to you last night, like, we lost 2-0, and the feeling last night, and then I think on this episode of the North End, is nowhere near as positive as when we got our ass beat 5-1 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, absolutely. This definitely hurts more. I think they did a really good job of segmenting us last night, where it was like, here's where your midfield is, and this is where we're going to keep them contained. Here's where your attackers are, and this is where we're going to keep them contained, and we're not going to give you those type of outlets to make those changes. Because right when you have a situation where a guy commands a double team, if you can get that ball out, change the field, now you're talking about a bit of an advantage. You have a numbers situation there where you can create and get some opportunities going. I thought they did a good job of segmenting us, their shape on the defensive side. I mean, man of the match on Fat Mob was Escobar, and he doesn't contribute to either goal here, but he did a very good job on Buka. And it was a tough match, man. It was really tough. And yes, it was definitely, I feel much worse than I did after the 5-1 thrashing from Vancouver.
Yeah. At least we could laugh a little bit about that one. This one, no smiles.
Yeah. It's definitely no smiling here.
I did want to highlight what Ilya said in response to a question about Owen and, the mistake that led to the first goal. And look, Ilya may be saying different things behind closed doors in terms of like being a little bit more motivational towards Owen, correcting and critiquing. But frontward facing, Ilya said, "What do you want me to say to our best player so far? There's nothing to say to Owen other than to keep doing what you're doing. He is the one that's been putting the team on his shoulders." I mean, that's high praise from Ilya. And again, like you can maybe think that, just being a good captain, a great captain with those words. But I also think even then, there's some truth to that. I think.
Yeah, it's true. What can you say? Owen wants that ball back. He knew right away. Sure. As soon as he fucking kicked it, he was like, oh shit. And then they did get a little fortunate, that ball pops up, you make a great timing with your left foot there, and it goes through Spot's leg. Yeah. And like that also, I think, blocked some of Stuver's vision on this, like where this ball was coming from, which gave him a little less time to go ahead and try to get a paw on this. But I'm fucking Owen knew it. He knew it right away. Like that was, oh shit, because it was an
Start
shit.
Sprinting towards it. Yeah.
It was an oh shit moment. But I don't think that excuses Svatok and Julio from stopping on that play. And I don't think you're expecting a PK there, right? Like if you're a center back, like
shouldn't be
the physicality back there. You're never, they're telling you tell those guys get up, So like it was a compounded mistake, and of course Owen wants it back. So I really love that quote, lifting him up there because it would, like I said earlier, that was probably the glaring play for a lot of people that saw that game last night that is going to stick with them. And it does not take away from the fact that Owen has been our best player all season long.
Yep. Well, anything else for you on this match, E?
Yeah, one thing. Fuck Houston.
Yeah. Hey. Still stands.
Yeah.
Well, let's okay, no last business day today. The one thing I do want to mention is that Stefan Cleveland was loaned down to FC To today, which I think to me brought two thoughts to my mind, E. Number one, getting them warmed up for Open Cup. Number two, fuck Houston. Like, right? Like we're got Jimmy out there in the lineup I saw, right? Tony Gomez is there, of course. So again, hopefully those guys can avenge us here, but we'll recap that match on Wednesday's episode. What I want to do to close out here is just take a couple minutes and look ahead at this May marathon, E, because if you are able to beat El Paso Locomotive at home about 10 days from now, that will give us that 9th match there later in May. And so this is like fucking Star Wars here. 9 episodes of this marathon are coming up, we would think, if you can take care of business against the Locomotive. So Minnesota at home next Saturday, right? 3rd in the West. They're tied with us on points. And if you put us at a neutral venue right now, I'm picking Minnesota, I think.
Yeah, they're good.
Not by much, but I really respect what they've got going on over there.
They're good. They're fast. Yep. They play well. Ramsey, right? Got them looking like a well-oiled machine. So I am definitely fearful of them. It's going to be a real test there. Then if you do beat El Paso, you're going to get Houston again, most likely.
I fucking hope so, man. Because if we
hope so too.
We get them back on the schedule at our house, Open Cup or not, man. I just want to play these fucks again. Like, totally come on down, man. Come on, man. We'll be fucking ready for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not trying to go to Phoenix.
No.
Come on, man. And that's easier path. I don't want that.
Yeah. I'm with you.
So that's the Wednesday match there on the 7th. And again, it's as long as you beat El Paso, it is Saturday, Wednesday until you get to June, because you go to Cincinnati, and FC Cincinnati, they're just first in the East, have won 5 straight, finally getting everybody healthy. We know how bad, how great Evander is. It's bad news for us. That strikes me almost as a schedule loss where we rotate in Cincy and we're not. I don't think we put out the best 11 against El Paso, but you want to win this. You want to make an Open Cup run here, especially because I believe if you win the 2 Open Cup games this month, that then you're off in the Cup at least a month, maybe 2. Like the semifinals of the Open Cup are like first week of September. So like if you go all out in these 2 games to advance, you do get a break from those additional games. So to me, because then after Cincy, you're hosting Atlanta, who have a lot of offensive firepower, kind of similar to us. It's not clicking for their high dollar guys they brought in this offseason, but we've seen it before. You come to Austin, sometimes you get right. And so like if you home Minnesota, home El Paso, rotate against Cincy. And again, further context provided, we may feel differently coming into that match. But then you got Atlanta at home on Wednesday. I think you rotate at Cincy, to me, where things stand right now. Because then you turn around after hosting Atlanta, and then boom, you have the best team in this hemisphere right now, certainly in CONCACAF, with Vancouver, who rotate everybody today and beat the shit out of Minnesota at Minnesota's house.
Yep.
I don't know, man. And then you go to Minnesota after that, and on the schedule on the screen, in between those 2 games is where you would play the next Open Cup match. And then after that, you're hosting RSL. RSL's 10th in the West right now. But guess what? That's only 4 points behind us. So it's not like there's some huge gap between these 2 teams right now. And then you close out the month road at San Diego, who's 7th in the West, but they're only 2 points behind us. And we know how tough they've been at home, even though they've lost 3 straight. So just talking through this for the last 3 or 4 minutes, man, again, this is daunting. I don't think there's a better word for it right now.
Okay, well then I will revoke my revocation.
Okay, nice.
The daunting. I'm feeling quite daunted. Look, man, I'm with you there. Cincy, scheduled loss for me. Even a full strength 11, your best choice 11 is going to have a very hard time beating that club. Denke is fantastic. Evander, one of the best players in the league. He's fantastic. Said like Atlanta there, we understand Almiron, Latte Lath. They got some dogs there on that club. You play Vancouver, who just seems unbeatable right now. They thrash Inter Miami and CONCACAF too before they fucking beat up on Minnesota, just beating the hell out of teams. Minnesota again, who we both very much respect, think are very good. Salt Lake, who just also retooled, added some pieces.
Agata's in there now.
They got Agata. Did they get Gressel?
No, Gressel went. Fuck, I think he went to Minnesota, dude, which is not good news for this month.
No, that makes it even. This is going to be a brutal month here, man. And we have hung our hat on, sitting in second place right now, but 6 points difference between us at second and 13th place Houston. St. Louis goes up 1-0 on LA here, so we'll take that for sure.
Yeah, we will definitely take that.
But man, and like going back to that schedule thing, another reason why I think that Cincinnati one is probably a scheduled loss. They're an Eastern Conference team. I'd rather try to get some points versus some of our Western Conference foes and opponents that are coming up here in this month. But man, come on down, Robbie Taylor, brother. We need you, bro.
Well, and he's supposed to be, I think he arrives either today or tomorrow morning on Monday, and then expected to be in training Tuesday rather. Shit, man. Like, I don't know if I expect him to start on Saturday, but I expect him to play for sure.
I think so.
And again, looking back at the table one more time, like the remaining game after this LAFC St. Louis match tonight is Portland and the Galaxy. So if Portland does not get a win, and this LAFC result holds, Austin will remain in second place, which again is crazy result luck for us. And understanding, right, that the floor there of that second place standing is tissue paper thin because you've got Minnesota and Colorado also on 16 points. You've got Portland and fucking Dallas somehow on 15 points. San Diego 14. Like, again, a couple more losses right in a row here, and you could be at the bottom of this group staring up, right? We are only 3 points above ninth right now. So just keeping that in mind. But if you're in second, headed into May, overall, I don't have many complaints.
Look, a lot of things have gone right with us in regards to the results that we've seen, not just this week, but I think after the Vancouver game as well, potentially. But you saw that table there. There's a bigger gap point-wise between first and second than there is between second and 13th.
Yep.
Like that really paints the picture where they're like, there's Vancouver, and then there's the rest of us, kind of down in this little muck that we got going on here. But you're going to figure out who you are in May. And like this table is going to look a whole lot different, and you're going to have to take some shots and survive. You're going to have to.
Anything else for you today, E, before we shut it down?
Just one thing.
Okay.
Fuck Houston.
Yes. Preach. We better get those fuckers in a month. Have to.
Come on down. Yeah, we'll take that.
All right, everybody. That'll do it. We appreciate you sticking with us here on episode 219 of the North End podcast. We will be back on Wednesday previewing Austin FC's matchup against Minnesota United, recapping Austin FC 2's matchup against Dynados and previewing their next match, and talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Enjoy the beginning of your week, everybody. We'll try to do the same, and we'll see you back here on Wednesday for another episode of the North End podcast. Until then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.